Okay, what up ladies and gents, it's your favorite Asian robot right here. Hopefully your favorite official content creator for First Descendant. And today, what I'm going to go through is the endgame farming build for Valby. What I'm also going to say before I begin is that you may also hear me speaking a bit slower during this. Why? Because we've adopted a new policy on stream in order to make sure that people can understand me better. So I'm going to try and talk a little bit slower than my usual speed so that people can grasp what I'm saying, and I also don't mince too many words. All right? So if you guys are prepared, then let's get started. Now, before we begin, as always, if you have not yet registered me as your content creator, please make sure you do so via the link in the description of the video. All right? If you registered me more than 1.5 months ago, you might need to extend your support because support expires every 2 months. So please do consider it if you're still enjoying the content. Now, I know the Glass Cannon Lepic build was supposed to be today, but I've shifted that to tomorrow because there's one more thing I want to test before I give it to you all. That said, please enjoy my farming Valby. Alright, here we go. When we get into this, the first thing we always go over is the reactors and external components. For farming Valby, you don't require a lot of defense, but you will still have it. I'll show you how to vary and mod a few things. Alright. And you also don't need a gold reactor because honestly, a purple reactor is enough for pretty much all your farming needs. So for me, I just have a purple reactor with skill duration up and non-attribute skill power boost ratio. Excuse me. Ideally, you do not need the skill duration up. You can go for dimension power boost or anything else because mainly you'll be using skills 3 and 2. But if you want skill duration up, it's also not bad because it lets your skills last longer, which is pretty fantastic. And considering that Valby skills last a long time, you actually get a lot of value out of a gold skill duration up because this improves it by 10%, which is huge on Valby. That equates to about roughly 2 extra seconds almost for most of her skills. We'll go through that in a second. So this is the reactor that I'm using. Now, for the HP auxiliary support, you've got your HP, MP recovery out of combat, or please go for module drop rate if you are still farming modules. But 2 HP rolls, very necessary. You don't need to use any sets because again, this is for farming. For your sensor, I went with max MP and consumable drop rate increase. If you do not need consumables, and that's a lie if you tell me that, then you can go for MP recovery in combat. This would be absolutely fine. All right. But for the most part, I prefer consumable drop rates, especially when I'm farming. For the defense support memory, you have a double defense roll and you want a gold drop rate increase modifier. This is extremely crucial if you want to survive, all right? Gold is something that you will be getting a lot with Valby, especially on the Valby farms. Now, for the last thing you'll need is the HP support processor. This comes with max shield and equipment drop rate. That being said, if you ever need anything else, you can go for max shield and shield recovery modifier. All right. But usually I go for equipment drop rate. This is especially handy whenever you are farming for reactors or things like that, because all of that counts as equipment. All right. Reactors, things like that. All of it will be equipment, and it's pretty handy dandy to have that. Okay. So now that you understand about the reactors and the external components, let's go into Valby's skills and the modules that you're going to use with her. Again, gun builds are covered separately. I know I haven't released too many of them. I promise you we're almost done. Thunder Cage, we have to wait till season 1 because that one really requires a bit of rework. I messed that up so badly. But my Secret Garden build will absolutely drop next week. The Python build is already there. Please make sure that you guys know how to vary the Python builds. If you do know how to vary the Python builds, don't worry, I'll be covering that in season 1. But for the Secret Garden, that is coming. Enduring Legacy is slowly creeping on its way there. Greg's Reverse Fate will probably come before that, so do look forward to it. Okay, now let's get into Valby's build. Okay, when it comes to Valby, here's what you need to understand about her farming build. Her farming build is based around being able to keep your cleanup and plop up for as long as possible. All right, I'm going to go through her skills first really quickly in summary. Her first skill is Bubble Bullet. This causes her to throw a bouncing bubble bullet, all right, that will travel for some time, and it will leave puddles of water that deal continuous damage. These so-called small puddles have a base radius of 3, With this particular build, they'll have 6.5, and they have a base continuous damage of 31%. You'll have to increase this with skill simplification. The type of attribute this is non-attribute and fusion. But take note that plop plop and cleanup are both dimension. So if you use focus on dimension, excuse me, you are not going to increase the damage of bubble bullet, which is why we actually use skill simplification in this build. All right? Okay. Plop plop is her teleport. She can designate an area. She leaves a puddle, a big puddle, where she leaves and where she lands. Take note, however, that the base power of big puddle is 28%, small puddle is 31%. Small puddle actually does theoretically 3% more damage over time, whereas big puddle has a much larger radius but does less damage over time, which makes no sense. I'm still waiting for this to be buffed. I know the gun bee build is very powerful, but I would really like them to buff at least her base damage. That would be really nice. Her the radius goes from 6 meters to 13 meters, but I still also believe that her base radius could use a buff. Either way, doesn't matter. This is her second skill. Third skill is cleanup. She transforms into water. She takes 50% reduced damage. All right? She takes 50% reduced damage in this form, gains movement speed, and this form lasts for 5 seconds. With this particular loadout, it'll last for 7.8 seconds. And the water that she leaves, all right, this one, the continuous damage from this one is very high. It's actually 130%. So if you are actually using a Valby skill-based build, you have to build it around cleanup, because cleanup is the one doing the majority of the DOT damage, which is 222% each tick, all right? And the waterway can last 23.3 seconds with this build. So it is pretty fantastic, all right? Okay, now that you understand this, well, these 3 skills are the main things. You're not really going to use Laundry Bomb. Laundry Bomb is her ult. It's got a very short cooldown, but what it does is it fires 3 shots, and it will last for 31 seconds. That's the unique weapon. But each of the bubbles will last for 4.8 seconds with this particular build. They deal continuous damage, and their max damage increases based on the number of targets inflicted with laundry. All right? So that's all it really does. It can be considered a finisher, but the problem with this thing is that I find that the laundry bubbles don't do enough damage in my personal opinion. I could be wrong on this, but I find them pretty lackluster. All right, so overall, I don't like to use her 4th skill with this build. All right, either way, now that you understand her skills, let's get into the actual build that you'll be using for this in order to maximize her skills. All right, here we go. First and foremost, for her hit points, you are going to want Battle of Stamina. Valby does not need a lot of hit points, especially in her farming form. So Battle of Stamina helps you out rather than increase HP, because although you get less HP, you actually end up having more duration on your skills, which is pretty important. 8.8% is nothing to snuff at, especially when the base duration is 15 seconds. This means you're getting almost 1.3 seconds extra, you know, on all your skills. Then skill simplification is next, because this one increases the skill power modifier across the board. Yes, you're going to lose about 25% of your max MP, but it's genuinely not a problem. And rather than using like, excuse me, focus on dimension, which only buffs 2 and 3, or focus on fusion, which only buffs 1 and 4, it is better to have a blanket buff. What are the other ways that you can buff skill power modifier? If you were to search this up, then skill power modifier could be buffed by maximize power, which is even stronger than skill simplification, but it comes with skill cooldown plus 50%. Valby's cooldowns are pretty long, so you don't really want to have this in there. All right, and if you were to try and offset this with maximized duration has a minus 21.1%, so you're back where you started. You may as well take skill simplification. So realistically, rather than maximize power, I go for skill simplification. It works really well. All right. However, if just so you know, if you were to put both of these together and then work on cooldowns, you could theoretically create a better synergy, but it would still be less powerful than what we've got. So I tried it, didn't really work out for me, so I decided to do it my way instead. All right, so skill simplification is my choice. Then you've got focus on non-attribute. Okay, Valby's modifiers are really low. They are below the 160% threshold for skill power, for the most part, right? So that's why I didn't focus too much on non-attribute master or specialist. I went for focus on non-attribute, which would help decrease your cooldowns and still improve non-attribute skill power. You're not going to get as much value out of it, but it's still pretty decent. So I like this, right? Next is Iron Defense. Iron Defense increases defense and gives you skill power modifier. While it is not absolutely necessary in this build, anything that can increase skill power modifier, considering Valby's extremely low modifiers, is really, really good. So I use Iron Defense mostly for the power. I don't really care about the defense. The defense is extra. Maximize range. Okay, I could put some more points into this if I really wanted to, but I find that for Valby, the base amount is enough. If you really want to, you can buff this, but take note that your skill power modifier, which is already so crucial for Valby, is going to drop down. So just be aware of that. It will drastically affect her damage output. So I left this one unupgraded just for the extra range. Okay. If you'd really like to, there's also other options. Skill range. Oops. Sorry. Skill effect range. That's right. Skill effect range. Okay, there are a few other options for you. You can also go with Frugal Mindset, which reduces skill cost, which is pretty good since you're losing MP. Or you could have Amplification Control, increasing both max skill and skill range. The thing is that this thing baseline is 24%. If you're willing to sacrifice 5% of skill power, that's not bad. But you can also chuck in a amplification control and raise it up by another 3 points, allowing you to sort of get a similar effect to a base maximized range, but with no negative modifier. So you can go with that as well. You've still got 3 points to play around here. It's up to you. And in season 1, when you're able to do multiple catalyst slots and whatever, I probably would go with a maximized amplification control instead, because I think that would bring me a lot more benefits, because Valby's skill power is already so low that, you know, I would adjust it accordingly. But you can do whatever you please, all right? I will demonstrate this one with maximized range, which I felt was very simple and gave me what I wanted. All right, so this is pretty much the first row. Next, skill expansion. This one needs no explanation. You're increasing the skill range of abilities by 92.3%. Very necessary, because you want these to be as big as possible. Without the skill range increase, her waterway is teeny tiny. With this, you can easily solo farm the Valby Road, so that is a lot better. Decimator is useful because when you defeat an enemy inflicted with debuffs, and guess what? Laundry is inflicted on anything. There is no enemy that is immune to Laundry, so Decimator is great for this while farming, because as you defeat enemies, right, you will get a stacking 10-second buff that goes up to 50% extra skill power modifier, which you do need. Now, if you find that you have more than enough power, you don't need to kill anything, you can swap this for MP Collector. All right? It's really your choice, but I don't find that I need MP, especially when farming with Valby, so I go with Decimator. If you want to take her into dungeons and things and you genuinely find you're running out of MP, slap on MP Collector, don't worry about Decimator, okay? So this is what I would do. Time distribution, why are we using this instead of Nimble Fingers? Valby's cooldowns are already, in most cases, less than the duration, especially owing to the fact that we've got plenty of duration increase in here. So time distribution, I find, gives her just enough of a HP boost and a skill cooldown boost to be more useful than Nimble Fingers. If you want to, however, you can go for Nimble Fingers instead, dropping the cooldowns further, but losing some hit points, all right? Then you've got Skill Extension. Skill Extension is pretty useful as well. Skill duration increase of 36.5% is what helps her skills last for a long time. Right now, my cleanup causes the waterway to stay for 23.3 seconds, whereas the stack cooldown is 17.5 seconds. Even if I were to clear the whole field, by the time that this skill cools down, the water that I've left there is still up. So you can continuously coat the whole area in water while pretty much sliding forever. That's the whole point of cleanup. And even then, I will still use Bubble Bullet to increase the amount of area that I cover. All right, so skill extension is pretty useful here. You can choose some alternative methods, but I find that this is the best. Non-attribute Sanctium is one of the last ones that I just sort of fitted in. Why are we using it? Because it increases her damage ever so slightly. Are there better choices? Yes, you could, but I do believe that this will be necessary. I left this Almondine slot here because I felt that it would be necessary in future builds, especially for Gunner Valby or for a skill-based Valby, which is coming in season 1. But if you don't like this, you can absolutely take it out and put whatever else you want in this slot. So this is absolutely not necessary for this build. All right, but it does buff up the power of your cleanup, which is one of your main hitters. So do consider that. All right, that basically brings us to the end of the farming build. The only thing I have to say is that mid-air maneuvering will be your sub-attack. All right, it is still one of the most useful sub-attack modules. And Supply Moisture is actually useful as your Transcendent mod. The fact that Supply Moisture can be used by Normal Valby means that this build can be used on Normal Valby and not just Ultimate Valby as well. Supply Moisture is very good because if you have to take this into a hard mode infiltration to farm Amorphous there, you can use Supply Moisture boosted critical rate along with a good gun to take out most bosses very quickly. So although you won't get the reduced MP cost, you can use this for when you have to deal with a boss or a stronger enemy. All right, so that is why Supply Moisture is still used here. Plus it does increase the skill critical hit rate, so it's not bad overall. All right, it also increases skill duration by 10%, so you're getting another duration increase, which helps your farming even more. All right, that brings us to the end of my farming Valby. Now, I'm sure you guys have already listened to everything I have to say about this. I think it's time for you guys to see a demonstration. So, how does the Valby work? Well, I think the best way to show you guys this would be to go straight into a solo Valby road. So we'll go right there, and I'll show you guys how it functions in farming. I was about to say how it functions in combat, then I realized you're not exactly bringing this along for combat, are you? You're bringing this for farming. So Valby road it is. Now, like I said, you could still use this in hard mode infiltration operations, but Bunny is still gonna outrun you, so you know you don't have to. Okie day. Don't know why the timers are off by 10 seconds, but it is what it is, right? Since I've got time, I'll open these up. Now we wait for the outpost to spawn. Poor Valby is running the summer outfit in a in a winter area, but she doesn't feel cold. She's a fish. All right, as you can see with this one, right, in the initial stages of the Valby farm, you can cover a massive area all on your own. Any area that is not covered, just hit it with Bubble Bullet and you've practically got the whole area on lockdown. All right, by the time your skill cools down, the water is still here. All right, so you can just go round and round and round in circles and spread the water everywhere. Like so. If there are any areas you cannot cover, just do a little bit of plop plop and the whole area is covered. See? Just like that. Alright? So now that you understand how we're going to do this, I'm going to code this entire area for the next 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And you will see how we can solo farm the Valby Road. That being said, the Valby Road is still faster with 2 people, so please be reminded about that. Alright? Each time a skill cools down, or even slightly before, you can introduce more water. Alright? Like I said, I usually will spread the water. Now, what I usually do on stream is I'll spread the water, send out the Bubble Bullet. If I really, really need to, I will do a plop plop past where the Bubble Bullet went. And this creates the perfect cycle for me. Alright? It creates the perfect water maintenance cycle that hits everything. It's glorious. I love it. Look at this. Look at this. Just like that. Just like that. And then by that time, look, my skill is ready to go again. And then I just get to coat the whole area again. It's so good. Now this is what I call true Valby farming. Alright? And if your other skill is not up yet, just go again. Just like that. The whole area is yours.
Here goes.
So for those of you that like to run the Valby road, there you go. This is what I'm running. This is how I do it. And of course, it's suitable for other content as well. But again, for most dungeons, if you're going to speed run, you may as well choose Bunny, right? So since that is the case, I usually keep my Valby for other activities. I mean, she's fun, but she ain't no Bunny. Now, Bunny has that speed, all right? So Valby's all right, but Bunny goes even faster. That being said, you may, this build is powerful enough that once you've leveled it up like me, you may accidentally kill the boss as well. I mean, it's okay if you do. Just make sure to do it close to the end of your run. Don't get stuck on any rocks, you know? And there we have it. Everything is all done. Okay, so that pretty much brings us to the end of this demonstration. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you enjoy my content. If you want more builds from me, more are coming soon. Okay, and before we go, register me as your content creator. Okay, link is in the video description, but we also have to thank our top supporters, so you know what's coming. I like Valby's music. Okay. Ta-da! Starting with August's top supporter list, our top tipper this month is CG Mayhem. Thank you so much. Our other top tippers are Luke Greenfield. Top super chatter is RR Odyssey. Top super chatter list includes Sebastian LeChance, George Tishon, TX Panda King, Sir Tommy Gunn, CU Yuri, Death-Donny982, I3XO, Atomic John B, Ted Wu, Phil the Mega Pint, BVS Fang. Top channel membership gifters are TX Panda King, CG Mayhem, Haza, Musanede, and Truffles. Thank you guys so much for everything you do for me. All right. And now, our new set of channel members. Ba-ba-ba-bum. CG Mayhem, Death Dawning, Haza, Jose, and Princess Star Track Hoodie. These guys are our Plus Ultra members. We also have BVS Fang, George Tishon, and Nisk at the OnlyFan level. Thank you guys so much for all you do for me. All right, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Y'all have a good day now. Catch you later.